What I'm going to do now is I'm going to dry brush some gray on here. I hit it with a rattle can. I did a dark gray, and then I did this color. I don't remember what this color is, but they were testers. And now I'm just going to go through and just do a dry brush. Well, it's kind of a mix of dry brush. I'm taking most of the paint off, but not all of it. I still want to cover, and I don't care if it's streaking. I'm just going to streak it down so it'll look weathered when I do it. And the nice thing is about this is, since I magnetize them, I can take it off and have an easier go at it. So I don't have to worry about holding on there and having it shake all over the place. And I'm just going to dry brush this entire thing. This is my final highlight probably. This is just a lighter gray, and I'm going to go from the top down on this. And when I start to run out of paint on my brush, I'm going to probably just kind of hit a panel a lot like this, just kind of lighten it up a little bit, and just kind of give this variation so every panel is not the same. And then when it gets really, so there's hardly anything on it, then I'm going to come over to this because I don't want it very much on it, and I'll just hit this as well too with the final highlight of this lighter gray. But I want to make sure there's hardly anything on my paintbrush when I do this, because it'll tend to do more streaks, and you don't need a whole lot when you're doing the final, when you're doing a final highlight, especially with such a light gray. I'm going to try something I haven't tried before, and that's doing an oil wash. A friend of mine, Scooter Paints, has done oil washes, and he says they work out pretty good. And there's one effect I like on it that he did on something, and that was that he was able to go back and wipe it off and not have the paint tinted underneath like you would have from a shade. And so that's what I'm going to try. I just went and bought this oil set just recently. It's like a little poo. This is burnt umbar. I don't know how much to do since I've never done this before, so we'll see how it goes. And then I'm going to mix a little bit of black with it. Probably too much, but oh well. And this is just thinner or spirits. Just mixing it up. See how much. Probably do a little bit more spirits. Just going to use a paper plate. Start from the top down. And we'll see how this goes. One nice thing about oils is you don't have to worry about it drying really fast. So that's good. What I'm doing now is I'm taking this white spirit that dilutes or thins or cleans oil paint, and I'm going with the Q-tip and I'm dipping it in and I'm removing it. Half of this has been removed, for all this right here, and half is not, to kind of give an example of it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one and I'm going to start showing you on this. This is what it looks like now. I'm just going to dip some in here, just dip my Q-tip in there. And I want to kind of use a flat end. This is what I've experienced so far. I just want to use the flat end so I don't go down the recesses. And when I hit a recess like this, I kind of want to go like that, so I don't go down and remove that down below. And I definitely want to get this thick stuff down here, but I also kind of want to leave some here and there. But as I do, I kind of want to lighten up a little bit so it's not like a clean line. So if I'm going to really scrub it off down here like this, I kind of want to just kind of partially do it up here and not do a lot up there, and then I want to remove it off that panel right there as well, and just kind of do that. And that's my kind of my idea behind it. You know, this is my first time, so just from my limited experience, my friend Scooter Paint, or Scotty, or Scooter, depending on who you talk to, is the one who showed me this process. I don't know where he learned it from, but that's what I'm doing. I'm just going to go through and do that. I kind of want to be really careful over here so far, just because those lines are a little bit closer together. But that's kind of the idea, is I just kind of want to move most of it, especially want to get my highlight back on top. So I do want to remove that. Want to get some of that down there. And I'm starting to remove a little bit of paint right there, so I kind of want to not do that, obviously. And so I kind of want to let up, kind of avoid that area now. And I'm going to see what this does over here. I'm going to do it on the bottom, but I want to make sure I leave those dark lines in there. So I might get a dry one, just kind of wrap it up. Yeah, I like that. So that's looking good. And then what I'll do is, I kind of still want it removed here since I got it overly wet. Kind of getting too much on it right now. Anyway, this is kind of an interesting piece to be learning on, but no time like the present, right? But I am really enjoying this. This is having a really cool effect. I didn't want to have everything overly tinted due to the, if I was to use a shade. But Scotty also did tell me that he did have a difficult time applying acrylic paint on after this. So we'll see how that rolls. Anyway, kind of get the idea of what I'm trying to do here. I do want to just kind of hit this panel right here, just to do this on the top side, and this right here just to brighten it up a little bit more. I probably should not be lazy and just go down and get my makeup brushes that I have so that they won't get so frayed like these are. But anyway, got the idea. It's now time to use some spirits to remove the washer. Kind of, I don't know. I don't want it all gone, but I'm trying to remove most of it just to lighten it up a little bit so it's not so dark. Still give it that weathered look. Ooh, I'm going right through the paint. Yeah, I need to be careful on that one. I think I'm going to dampen it up a little bit first. I've let it sit for a long time. It's kind of being stubborn a little bit. I don't want to rub the paint off, which I did on part of that. That's okay. Yeah, I guess don't let it sit so long. Lesson learned. Guess the moral of the story is don't get in a hobby funk and leave your stuff for a long time and let it dry. I have a solution for this. It's not what I wanted, but it's what I'm going to have to do. Just using the red to start from the top, work my way down. It's not, it's diluted a little bit, and so it's still translucent. I don't want to go all the way to the sides, just so that I can still have separation in the panels, but I want to start from the top down and just work that way. It's one of those things, I guess, you know, stay on top of it when you have a project and don't put it off and do it as you did before, because now I'm paying the price, but whatever. So I've already done it on this one. You kind of get the idea. I took some Evil Sun Scarlet and mixed it with the corn red and diluted it some, and I went around and did this to it. Just kind of lighten it up a little bit. I don't want to go really stark because this whole thing is kind of a dull piece anyway. What I did is I just came along the top, got some on my paintbrush, moved along the top up here, and just kind of dab it along, mostly towards the top, like that, and then just kind of bring it down just a tad. Still kind of leaving it dabbed up at the top as much as possible. And then I took my finger, kind of bring it down a little bit, and just use my finger to kind of do some of the blending, and like that. And I don't care if it's spotchy or splotchy, just because that's kind of how the whole piece is anyway. I'm just using my finger just because it's a big a big flat surface. Just kind of using my finger to do that. And then if it's too much down here, I'll just use my other finger to just kind of wipe it away. And yeah, and as it dries, I still go back and do a little bit, because that way it just kind of, I don't know, I like the effect it does, because it leaves kind of like pools or rings. a little bit like streaking. And then once it's dry, I will come back. I did this on the other one. I came back and just kind of hit the top part a little bit more, just so it's that much more of a gradient color. But like I said, I didn't want to do it really stark, just because I don't want it to really jump out like everything else is kind of dull, and all of a sudden there's a bright red streak across the reactor. I just cut some decals off of my Bulldog tank stickers that I got that I'm not using. Well, I use for stuff like this. Cut them off, let them soak in water for a little bit, and then I'm just going to transfer it and slide it off right here. And then I'll get my finger wet, dab it, move it around to where I want it. As best as possible. Looks level, looks centered, and then just get some cloth and dab it down. And I want to do decals before I do weathering, because you don't want to do all your weathering and then put clean decals on top. Kind of looks weird. But anyway, I'm going to do the rest. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this is microscale. This is microscale. It's a 2-part solvent to set decals. I'll use the blue one first, and I'm just going to lightly brush it on. I should have actually brushed it on where it was going to be set. You're supposed to brush it on before you put the decal on, but I got carried away. So I'm going to brush on after. And once that's all dry, I'll go ahead and do the red. This one next. This is known oil, and I'm going to do some weathering. What I want to do is I just kind of want to dull this up a little bit, and plus I just want to have the paint go over all this just to kind of hide the decal a little bit better. So you don't really see the edges. But I also don't want to have my numbers all totally grungy. But I do want to have them a little bit darker towards the bottom, just so it kind of mirrors the red. This is Seraphim Sepia. One of the things I'm going to do with it is I'm just going to come through and kind of, well, I have too much paint on there, but I just want to darken up panels and do different things like that, just to give it a little bit different texture, not texture, but just give it some variation so it's just not all bland, so to speak. And then I will also use this to streak with. And I don't want to do a lot, just because I don't want to have these be really, like grungy, but I do want to have some weathering on them. So I will kind of just go pick and choose where I want to have stuff, mostly where there's kind of blockish, or these jewel, I don't know, lights or whatever. I just painted these like they were jewels, but they're just kind of like lights. Maybe some round gears, oil, just whatever. Just to give it a little bit more flavor. First and foremost, I'd like to thank those who support me and what I do. There's a couple things I learned on this one. Well, when I did the first oil wash, I only let it dry less than 24 hours. Worked perfectly. When I did the second oil wash, kind of got in a hobby funk. The project kind of overwhelmed me, and I let that red one dry for quite some time, and it was a mistake. It was permanent, and I couldn't deal with it. So obviously, as you see in the video, I had to repaint it. And that was kind of the biggest drawback in that. And that's what I learned the most off of that. If you have any questions, comments, you can leave them below and I'll do my best to answer those. If you want to see more of what I do as far as photographs are concerned, you can go over to Instagram and check it out on Platypus Scotsman. We also have Platypus Scotsman Clan, and that is kind of what we do with family and other activities and things like that. I don't post on there as like I should, but it's a different story. And then we have on Facebook, we have Platypus Scotsman Lounge and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I hope there's something you can use it. Anyway, hope there's something you can use out of this that you can translate into your hobby and the things that you do. I plan on using the oil wash more. I like the fact that that I can remove the stain from my paint, so to speak. That was really a good thing for me to learn, and interesting I learned it on a project like this, but when you learn. I like the fact that it doesn't tint my paint, that I can remove it, and that opens up a whole new spectrum for me, because that's one of my frustrations, or not frustrations, it's one of the things I didn't really like about using shades and things on projects, that there was that. But this just adds a whole new element, and now I have those two types of washes in my wheelhouse, so that'll work. Hope there's something you can get from this, like I said. If you have any questions, comments, like I said, thank those especially who support me in what I do, and that really means a lot to me. And I hope your hobby is treating you well. Hope you get something out of this, and you have a wonderful evening. And it's interesting when you don't film for a while. Trying to get back into this whole talking on the camera thing is very interesting. But anyway, I still have that problem. You have a wonderful night. Bye. Ciao. See ya.